Further along, we got our brake lines mounted. The brake brackets for the brake lines are mounted. The brakes are mounted on the rear end here. We got the rear end back together. We got our banjo fitting there, and our brake lines kind of run the best that we can see fit for this rear end. I think everything looks pretty dadgum good. Really close to having this thing buttoned back up and put back under the car. Just a few little odd and end things to finish up, but a nice little project for tonight. Been dreading this one just because I got to pull the rear end out of the car, but it's done. All right, really the only thing I've left to do tonight is get the starter back on it and kind of check on some things underneath. Put this O2 sensor on. So we're going to do that real quick. And we're going to call it a night. Come back out tomorrow. It's all going to be about wiring. So wiring, checking things out, getting things set up. Gotta get some spark plugs. All right, so I gotta get this oxygen sensor in. When I bought these headers, they didn't come with a bung welded in, so I welded this bung in, and I did it to give a little bit of an angle. It's hard to see under the car because I'm kind of contorted under here, but you have to have at least a 10-degree angle. So this would be like parallel. You don't want to put the bung parallel like that because it can retain moisture at the end of this little plug. And if it does that, it can degrade the life of the O2 sensor and also give some false readings. So what they tell you to do is, instead of going parallel into the header pipe, you would just put about a 10-degree angle in it, a minimum 10 degrees. So I think I've got a little bit more than that in there. I tried to get it in a space that worked to clear the bell housing. It wasn't going to interfere, but also has to keep it in this little section right here. So that's that. We'll put that on. We're going to run those wires up and just kind of looking under here to make sure that things fit and they don't have any more fitment issues or any challenges. Looks good. Cool. Oh gosh. Why am I laying under this hard? Got the lifts and all kinds of crap and thing around it. Alright. What happened? Oh, yeah. All right, guys, look, it's getting late. I'm tired. Again, got a lot done though. Get the exhaust on. We got the rear end back in. You got to see the build up earlier. We got the starter on. We got the O2 sensors in. We're gonna do the wiring tomorrow. Tidy stuff up. We're really close. That's right. We're at Summit Racing, trying to get those extra little pieces, odd and end things to get the Nova fired up. So I had to run down here this morning. I got some starter cables, or excuse me, not starter cable, but the battery cables for the car. A couple other odd and ends. I got to return the fan. The fan didn't work. It was too thick. Didn't fit in between the engine and the radiator. So trying to figure the last little pieces out before we fire this thing up this afternoon. So I got to get in here, quickly get what I need, get out of here, get back home and start wrenching on the Nova. But I wanted to say, if you guys have never been to Summit Racing, I know there's one in McDonough, Georgia. That's the one I'm at right now. There's a couple other locations, one in Texas, I think one in Ohio. You got to get by one of these places and check it out. Summit is incredible. It is a huge building with everything you can imagine inside of it. It is a toy store for you car enthusiasts, and it is worth the drive. Make a trip, do a day trip with your boys, do something to get out here and check this out someday. You can walk down the aisles, and they have performance part after performance part on the aisle. It's incredible. All right, we're back from Summit Racing. About an hour drive back home, almost home. Had to stop and get a few other things from the parts store. Well, it is taking a lot longer than I expected to get to do run the errands side of stuff. So I'm going to be back around 11 o'clock today. I'm about 2 hours behind, so it's like almost 1 o'clock now. I don't know how that's going to put me back in timing to get this thing running. I really want to get it fired up tonight, but I'm thinking if it happens, it's going to be probably really late in the evening tonight. I'm not doing a really good job documenting this stuff, by the way, as you can tell. Because I'm just wrenching as hard as I can to see if I can get this thing to fire tonight. Ran into some issues. They're going to be challenges I'm going to have to address a little later on. And one of which is my header. And you can't really see it down in there, I don't think. Let's see. I don't know if I can get my finger in here, but the header is actually hitting the steering arm. Which is right there. I'm pointing to it down there. One of the header tubes is right up against it, if you can see there. Anyway, and it's causing the car not to be able to turn completely to the left. So another header fitment issue we're running into. So really disappointed in these headers. Had an issue on this side that I ran into last night when I was putting that passenger side header on. I mean, there's no excuse for that, really. These things are designed for this particular car for a small block engine. There is actually plenty of room in here for those header tubes to be able to manipulate around. I realize there may be different motor mounts that could potentially cause some interference issues, or maybe the ones I have are a little bit lower, the engine's sitting a little bit lower in the car. Whatever the case may be, I still feel like the headers could have been easily adjusted for, you know, all combinations of motor mounts. And this is pretty standard kind of swap kit for this thing. So yeah, disappointed in that. I guess you get what you pay for. These headers were like $200 or $300 versus the, you know, Doug's headers, which were made for this conversion, which you're talking $500-600 for. It's just a lot of money for a set of headers. So I'll make these work, but lesson learned, if you guys, you know, are going to be doing, you know, a Nova like this or working on one, if you go with these Flowtech headers, you may run into some issues. And I think that's been the biggest hang up for me in this process, getting ready to fire it up, is the headers have just been a nightmare. I've had to pull them off multiple times, clearance things, move stuff around. Just a pain in the butt. What else? I got a fan on, so I did get a new fan at Summit. So I got I think it's a 16-inch fan. It fits perfectly on there. I will eventually have to make a shroud for this thing. Not going to do it right this second, but I did want to get the fan at least on it so I could kind of mock that up and start getting the wiring situated for that too. So I'm finishing a lot of the wiring right now. Got a fan controller for it as well. I'll have to put that on at a later time. What else? Man, I've got the positive battery cable lead built, and I need to put that on. I'm gonna have to route it down and under the engine mount there, and yeah, tidy that stuff. I'm gonna get it in there and on, but I'll have to do some tidying on the wiring and that. But that should get us engine power. I got to finish the wiring up here. I got to run the starter wire. I've got to run the distributor coil wire. I've got to run the additional leads for the oil pressure sending unit. It's electronic, so I can get that into the Holley system. I got to put in my clamps for the coolant. Engine oil is in the engine. I need to put coolant in it. Once I get the clamps on, I got to get under the car and put transmission fluid into the T5. All right, progress update here. We got the wiring done. So I got the starter hooked up. I've got the battery cable to go to the starter lines. All that stuff is hooked up. I've got my ground hooked up, the ground to chassis hooked up, reservoir mounted and hooked up for the clutch. Everything underneath, starter, all that is good to go. I still need to wire the ignition, the oil pressure sending unit, and clean up some wiring around the back there before we fire it, just to get things kind of out of the way of heat and so on. I need to bleed the fuel system. I need to go get gas to put in this thing, and all that good stuff. But what I want to do right now is I want to test to see if we actually have power to the ignition, because I don't know what's working down here and what's not. There's the wiring situation underneath this thing is just a teetotal mess. All right, guys. Well, I don't like to submit to failure at any time, but unfortunately, the wiring in this thing is much worse than I remembered. I don't even know where some of these things went to, so you can see that, but there's mismatched colored cables of wiring. There's things that are looped together. I have no idea why. It's just a mess. I'm obviously gonna have to spend a good amount of time rewiring this thing. I don't think there's any way around it. I'm not getting any power to any of the systems at all at this point. So I've, one critical connection at least has been disrupted, and I'll just have to chase it down. So that's going to take some time. Not going to get to that tonight. I was going to be lucky if I got all the critical things done, if the power source and everything worked. So that's why I wanted to check it before I got to that point and got, broke my back over trying to get everything. So looks like this is going to get drawn out another couple of days, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, that's just the way it goes with hot rods and this stuff. This is a completely custom build. You know, everything on this car has been touched, modified, changed, redone, and the wiring is going to be no different. I hope I be able to do this in 2 parts. Looks like it's going to be 3, but the third try is a charm. We're going to fire this thing up on the next episode, and I will see you guys on Southeast Speed Shop next time. Check this out. That's right. We got dash, we got gauges, we even have high intensity LED headlights. I believe I've got everything we need to fire this old girl up.